Welcome back. Today is YA Wednesday. It's not a literal alliteration, but it sounds right, doesn't it? YA Wednesday. So Wednesdays are for YA. Today we're going to talk about Okay for Now by Gary D. Schmidt, who, if you watched last week's Toddler Tuesday video, I talked about a book called Wild Things, which was about the world of children's literature publishing. And when I was reading that, I found out that Gary D. Schmidt was Robert McCloskey's biographer. Robert McCloskey, who won 2 Caldecott Awards, one of them for Make Way for Ducklings. So I just thought that was really cool because I'd already finished this book, and then his name popped up. It's one of those kismet things, like when you learn a new word, and then all of a sudden you hear it everywhere. So this is Okay for Now. Gary D. Schmidt also wrote The Wednesday Wars, which takes place in the same community. It has some overlap of characters. I haven't read The Wednesday Wars yet. Keith at work has, and he really liked it. But he told me I should listen to Okay for Now, and I'm really glad he did because it's amazing. So if I told you there was a book that had John Audubon's illustrations of birds, Jane Eyre, the Apollo missions to the moon, domestic abuse, the Vietnam War, post-traumatic stress, mean librarians, nice librarians, people learning to read, people learning to draw, kids with Saturday jobs, being judged on other people's reputations and not your own. You might think that was a lot on one plate. And then if I also added that there's young love and tragic losses and baseball players and Broadway shows, you might think that was way too much for one book. But Gary D. Schmidt covers all of these things in Okay for Now, and he balances it perfectly. There's a lot that goes on, but his writing style is perfect for it. Doug Swiatek is going into the 8th grade, and he's just moved to Marysville, New York, and he hates Maryville. He has an abusive father. He doesn't get along well with his brother. His older brother is off in the war. His mother is sweet and loving, and he has to deal with a lot of things, but he gets through them all. This is a hard book to talk about because there's so much stuff that's going on. When I talked with Keith about this book, as I was finishing reading it, we both discussed the fact that we think that Doug Swiatek is a perfect character. We use a hashtag, we call it Perfect Human Beings, for characters that we love in books and movies and TV shows that usually they're really flawed. They have a lot of issues that they deal with, but they're still really interesting because of it. Ronan Lynch from The Raven Cycle, Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec, characters like that who have quirks and deal with issues and come out not always on top, but as best as they can. Doug is one of those people. And Gary Schmidt uses a lot of repetition in the way that he describes things, or he has different things that Doug says over and over again that really help tie up themes and ideas. There's a lot that goes on in this book, but because of the way that Gary Schmidt writes, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel messy. He wraps it all up really well. There is a specific part when Doug is reading Jane Eyre, which is one of my favorite books. I read it at least once a year. And he kisses the girl that he likes, and he says, "Reader, I kissed her," which, if you've read Jane Eyre, you know that Jane speaks in the first person, and when she, at the end, when she, spoiler, marries Mr. Rochester, she says, "Reader, I married him." And I just thought that was a brilliant literary device to use. And that's just like one small thing that he does. But he uses several things over and over again, and it's great. It's so good. So Okay for Now is kind of a hard book to summarize because it's almost a slice of life. It's like a year in the life of this kid who goes through a lot of changes. It would take me a long time to go through each little thing. And there, like I said earlier, so many different components to the book that it would take a year. Okay for Now by Gary D. Schmidt. Thank you for watching. Do all those nice things you can do on YouTube. Like this video, subscribe, share it with other people, comment below. If you want, you can start using our hashtag Perfect Human Beings. You can post them below, you can tweet it, whatever you like. Let me know who your perfect human being characters are. You can find me on Twitter at FriendsWoodYA. My Tumblr is Reading Rainbow Hair.
You'll put the link down below.
That's right, I'll put the link down below. Thanks, Lisa. What would I do without you?